Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Too Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Too Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. 2 easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got one of my favorite actors, Jeff Kober, with me. So welcome, Jeff.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. Great to be here.
You know, I know that V was your first show. I was a big V fan.
It was my first Screen Actors Guild show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
There was a couple of what they call under fives on the soap operas before that.
Yeah, well, I did. Was Falcon Crest before that?
No. This was like Days of Our Lives and The Young and the Restless, where I was the bartender or the,
Very nice.
The waiter. Just something to like working toward getting a SAG card back in those days.
Getting your feet wet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, they had a name for these roles. They were called under fives. So you had under five lines. They could pay you next to nothing, but it qualified you to buy into the Screen Actors Guild because AFTRA and SAG were separate at that time. So
yeah, so you had to do it.
You had to either that or just get jumped in by someone who could not do without your talents, which was not going to happen.
Well, so let's start this way, Jeff. Tell me a little bit about what got you into acting. Because that's such a hard profession, but you've been doing it for decades now.
Decades. You know how you stay in this business a long time is just you don't die and don't leave. So I was in Montana and I fell in love with a girl who wanted to be an actress, and she moved to Los Angeles, and I followed her here. And she was a special, she was I don't know, is emotionally divergent the same as neurodivergent? She was special, and her idea of acting was not anyone else's idea of acting. Anyway, that didn't last, but I ended up here, and you know, my life fell apart in a number of different ways, and I was at a job, and I said I remembered that going to class at least made sense, and there was no sense in my life. And this woman said, "I go to an acting class. I think you'd like it." And so I went to an acting class, and I saw these people on stage speaking the truth, which, in Montana in the 50s and 60s, that was not something that got said a lot,
Right.
especially in the German Lutheran stronghold of Park City, Montana.
Yep.
And they had these big, passionate feelings. And it was sort of like when I got into high school, I was about 220 pounds, and I got on a football field for the first time, and I went, "Oh, this makes sense." And the same thing in this acting class, I saw all these passionate emotions and all this stuff coming out, and all that stuff that was stuck inside me suddenly had a place to go. So I was in from day
It's
one.
kind of a late start. I mean, you didn't act through high school?
I was 26 years old when I started. That's a late start.
Yeah,
But
that's a little bit late.
I did some study, and apparently Van Gogh didn't start painting till he was 26. So I'm in good company, right?
Well, you do a little bit of painting, don't you?
I do a little bit of painting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned for a show I did.
Yeah, the Kindred.
The
I saw
Kindred.
that.
Yeah.
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 That was a good show. But at the time when I was watching, I had no idea that you did the paintings.
Well, it was when I got this role, I went in for the handsome lead, and they picked me for the Nosferatu who'd been in the basement for 3,000 years. And I said, "Look, if I've been in the basement for 3,000 years, I got a hobby." I
Right.
said,
Got
"Your
something
choice.
to do.
Either I play the cello or I'm a painter." And they said, "Oh, he can paint." So so I just and an art department was supposed to do the paintings, and we got to like 3 days before we were shooting that episode, and they went, "Oh, well, we didn't do any painting."
I don't think they were as concerned about him being a painter as you were.
You know, isn't that the story of Hollywood?
Yeah.
Yeah, or life, really. We make things so important that, yeah, sometimes they are, but and then we expect other people to see them as importantly as we see them, and
Yeah.
that rarely
Well, that's
happens.
usually where we run into trouble.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah.
The things that are important to us changes from person to person.
Yeah. What's important to you?
At this time in my life, it's family.
Yeah.
All my decisions are based around family. I do everything else, where I can fit it in with that. But now, 30 years ago, it would have been a little different, probably.
Right.
I'm trying to
Sure.
establish myself and get a career, and that stuff might have been a little different. But I'm a pawpaw now. I got little grandkids running around, so it's yeah,
Would you say a pawpaw?
pawpaw.
I have a friend actually who lives in Pawpaw, West Virginia. Do
Have
you
you
know
ever
that's
eaten
there?
a pawpaw?
I have not.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. It's kind of like to me, it's kind of like a sweet avocado because it's got the same texture basically as an avocado.
Wow.
Yeah,
And it grows on trees?
grows on trees. Yeah. Yeah.
Has a
I
pit?
thought I was going to be a granddad, and as soon as the first grandkid came, I was like, "Yeah, that doesn't fit, Pawpaw."
Yeah,
And they
I'm Pawpaw.
Pawpaw.
That's
They
amazing.
usually call me Pop Pop till they can say Pawpaw, and then it gets
Uh-huh.
eventually it just kind of naturally goes to Pawpaw.
My God. You don't look old enough.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, they're young. Like we've got five, but the youngest or the oldest is five, so they're young. But yeah, if I had to pick something, that's probably what for me right now. And then after that, I got into podcasting late. We've been doing this, my son and I, for 6 years, and we fell in love with it. And it doesn't hurt that it kind of took off. That helps.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, when people actually care what you have to say,
Right.
it makes a big difference, doesn't it?
It doesn't hurt. Although we were doing it as a way just to spend time together. So
Right?
we'd have done it anyway. I don't know if we'd have been doing it for 6 years though. But
Right. Yeah.
once we hit 2020 hit and everybody was home, nobody told us no because they had nothing to do, and we took off.
That's
That's what I
fantastic.
always tell. I'd give up the pandemic if we could avoid it, but it really did help us.
I tell you, there's a lot of people in this world right now who can say the same thing, not all of whom I am happy for.
Right. Well, you've done. I mean, I saw you've done a little bit of podcasting.
Yeah, well, I wrote a book and then I did a podcast of there's just little essays in the book, and like and then Rainn Wilson's someone I've gotten to know, and he has he has a podcast called
Yeah,
Soul Boom, and his whole thing is he wants to have a spiritual revolution. It's like basically just can't we all just get along? Come on, man. It's not about all this. Let's,
that sounds
and
like a great
just,
podcast.
yeah. And so then and he asked me to do a short one, and he and I and his producer just threw some ideas around, and we went from the sublime to the absurd, and we came down to day shift, which has two meanings, but also it's just the biggest meaning is you can change your whole day around like that if you just put your attention somewhere else.
Yeah,
Like if you're you know, right now, this time of year, it's so challenging because
Stressful.
people are so stressed. There's so much going on that they wish was different. And at the end of the year, we're always, looking at our lives and taking stock, and we're always coming up short from what we think should be happening. And
True.
regardless of how good we might be doing, how well we might be doing. And so this day shift, I've been doing it now on Rain's channel. We do it like it's a once a week thing, 5, 6, 8 minutes, just where, well, look at it like this. And, just a rock looks a whole different way when you turn it over to the wet side,
That's
and
right.
it's shiny, it's sparkly, and whereas it was gray and dull. And that was
I
in
kind of
case
like
you've
the
spent time in
idea.
the country. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of just shifting your focus. If you're having a bad day, just try something else. See if you
Well,
can shift your
and put your attention anywhere other than your thinking. It's going to
yeah,
get better.
for
So
sure. Yeah, I love that. I like the little small episodes. That's because no everybody has time to watch, 7, 8 minute episodes.
yeah, yeah. And I can't piss anyone off too bad in 7, 8 minutes. So well, that's not true. There are some people just get really upset when you try to make them feel better.
Well, that's truth. Some people just don't want to feel better.
Some people do not want to feel
No, they
better.
don't. Well, and so I saw on your website you do the meditation stuff. What started that?
Uh, it's just abiding unhappiness and
Yeah,
inability to have a good life. I was meditating for, like probably 30 years before I learned the meditation that I teach now.
really?
But I was just, it's like I was closing my eyes and trying to make my mind quiet, and that's just not possible.
No.
But I was trying. And and then I learned this other meditation that allowed me to just go someplace other than where the thoughts are, just transcend the thoughts, go
Yeah.
beyond them. And suddenly, oh, my life started changing because I was living, I come from a place where I was living in like a self-imposed hell because of things that happened in my youth, where I just saw myself as unworthy of life and I was torturing myself and
Yeah, it's
I
awful.
didn't know how to get out from under it. And meditation is what began the journey out from under it. So,
I love that. I love that. I started I've been pretty open on the podcast about, but I got diagnosed with Parkinson's early in the year. I'd never done meditation, but I started that with my wife as a way just to try to calm down some of the
yeah.
the symptoms, and it's been great.
Oh
It's
my
really
God.
helped, and I'm just learning. I'm still learning what I'm doing, but it's been really good for that.
Well, hey, just along those lines, I just started a book. A friend of mine just went through a massive life shift, and she started reading this book called Breath.
Yeah.
Can't remember the author's name right now, um, but it's life changing. It truly is life changing. Just learning how to breathe. Uh, is Breath, the New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. And
I've
I
got that book, and
you
I got
do?
it. I do, and I had originally gotten it because I thought I'm a runner, and I thought, well, maybe if if I can get my breathing right, I've always had trouble breathing through my nose. That stuff. I was like, maybe it'll help me with running, but it's still just sitting on the shelf. I haven't read it yet.
Well, maybe if you put it under your pillow, some of it will soak in. I,
I mean, I did the first step. I got the book, but I
I
got I
I
haven't
got
read
it
it yet.
on I got it on Audible,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
didn't have to read it. And
Well,
it's
and that's
James Nestor reading.
I'm trying to make that transition. I love to read. I love to have a book in my hands. But I'm
But
getting
not one
older.
that says
My
you have to
eyesight's not the
study.
best. Yeah.
You don't want to study one. You
No.
want you want a book to like, but it's like it's oh man, it's just blowing my mind reading this thing. So
You've inspired me. I'm gonna
okay, good. I want a full report.
I will- well, you've read some of it. Do you think will those breathing techniques help me at all running?
I think it will also help you with Parkinson's.
That's worth it to me. That's worth it.
Yeah. Because it's the thing that we don't recognize is that stress is a major component in virtually every single thing that
Yeah.
goes wrong with us, quote unquote, physically, mentally, emotionally. And stress, most stress, or let me, I'm not a mental health professional by any stretch of the imagination. Let's say a lot of stress is caused by comparing whatever's happening to what we think should be happening.
Right.
And what we think should be happening is based on speculation. And, we get this idea, if only this and this and this, then I'd be happy.
Yeah, we
You get
do.
this and this and this, and it's like, well, happiness moved. So we tortured ourselves all the way up to there and didn't get the payoff. So, one thing about breathing properly is that we get present in a way where we can stop arguing with life and just it's like I have a really messy desk here, but I got the computer pointed in a direction where you don't have to see it.
That's right.
But it's a messy desk. Okay, I'm a messy guy. I accept that. And I'm just going to clean up a little while we're talking. I'm just
Well, see, you told on yourself. I never would have known.
well, and I when you cease ignoring it, then it's like, okay, would you like it to be neater? Yep. You got 5 minutes? Yep. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of that's kind of what how I do my entire life. I'm the guy that if I walk through and I see something, used to be, and maybe I just ignored it. I don't ignore it now. I just clean it up, just fix it, and then I don't have to
Love
worry
it.
about it anymore.
Love it.
Yeah, and
Well,
I started doing that years ago, and I did it more um, because the mess was stressing me out.
yeah.
But maybe I didn't
Yeah.
have time to do all of it, to fix all of it right that second. But I can grab something, and then eventually it's clean.
So, so yeah. So, so yeah, breathing helps to get us here. And this whole thing of breathing through the nose instead of through the mouth is like, what are you kidding? I mean, it's just it's I'm reading about the studies that he has been a part of and that he himself studied. It's amazing what it does to help people's health,
Yeah.
physical health, not just mental and emotional, but physical. It's amazing.
How did you get to the point that you're breathing through your nose? Is it just when you're meditating, or are you to the
No,
point
no,
now
no.
where it's
I'm
all the
I'm
time?
walking around now being conscious of it, and I'm gonna try taping my mouth together with some surgical tape. But he was talking about it was he was talking there's this cat who became a photographer in the 1850s and 60s
Yeah.
and traveled around. Oh, I'm sorry, he became a painter in the 1850s, and he traveled around the United States further than Lewis and Clark went, uh, talking to and painting. He painted more than 200 Native Americans his first time
Wow.
around, and he said, and then he kept copious notes, and every single one of them had beautiful forward-facing jaws and perfect teeth. And they were tall and strong, averaging 6 feet in height and broad shoulders and barrel chests. And the women were equally as statuesque. And part of it I'm sure had to do with just their lifestyle, but they every single tribe taught their children how to breathe through the nose by the mother would put after they nursed, they would put their fingers over their lips so they had to breathe through their nose. And at night, they would pinch their lips together, stand over the crib and pinch their lips together so they learned how to breathe through the nose. And then within a short period of time, they had trained themselves to breathe through the nose so that they did that for the whole of their life.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Well, I mean, do you think that's why they're so healthy?
Well, when you read the book
I'm going
and
to.
he'll show you because he did experiments where he just breathed through the mouth and then breathed through the nose for like an extended period of time, like days at a time. And it was like switching from breathing through the mouth to breathing through the nose. Day one, his uh his resting his blood pressure went down like 40 points.
Wow.
His heart rate variability increased by, like, I don't know, twofold or threefold or something. I'm just, these measures of these metrics of health just shot up. It's
Yeah,
astonishing,
that's
really.
really
It's you'd
what
think of, like,
I'm hearing is that we're starting a book club. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm down, but that means you got to read it.
I'm gonna read it. I'm inspired
Okay,
because I at least made the effort to get it. It's just been sitting.
that's a lot. Really,
Sometimes.
look at me. I got books. There's there's at least a couple of those I haven't read.
That's right. Well, we know you're listening now, so you're not reading any of those.
No, that I listen to some things. I love to read too.
Yeah, I've always been a reader, but yeah, I'm ready to make the switch just because my eyes get so tired so quick anymore.
Well, you're, I mean, you're still a kid, but I'm getting kind of old. So
Nah,
yeah,
shoot, you got plenty of
you get to a
time.
certain age, this thing just starts falling apart,
Yeah,
man. It's
I
just
know.
like,
I know. I'm pretty close. Pretty close. So I wanted to. I'll run through a few of the things I've enjoyed you on
oh, okay.
over the years. So I wanted to bring up Earth 2. You were the Zed.
I the only time I've ever made a director cry was on
Was
that
he
show.
crying on just from watching you, or were you doing something wrong that was upsetting
I was doing something wrong, and
him?
not because I wanted to be, but because, whether it's a blessing or a curse, I'm quite simple-minded. And the thing about the Zed was that he was without emotions.
Yeah.
And so I made myself be without emotions. And she wanted something to happen in this one scene, and I was already too far down the path of no emotions. And when you've cut yourself off from your emotions, you don't have a guidance system.
Right.
And I've never had the experience before or since where I just could not come up with it. And it horrified me, and the director cried. Director wept. They actually wept. So I'm
did,
not proud of that, but
well, did they just think they'd messed you up?
no, they just thought that that they had made a terrible mistake hiring me. That's what they thought.
I mean, that's
Uh,
very method.
well, it's again, I wouldn't call it method, but it's it is technique
Yeah.
where Sandy Meisner said that acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Now, the imaginary circumstance is that I'm on another planet and I'm a robot, but you can't imagine no feelings.
Yeah.
You can only cut them off. And so I went to a place other than truthfully at that point. Or alternatively, uh, to truthfully have something without emotions is not dramatic. And so it had to be a TV version of no emotions. I don't know. But I was trying to live because if I'm living truthfully under imaginary circumstances and I imagine you're my son, a conversation is going to happen in a certain way. If I imagine you're the guy who's coming to to repossess my car, it's going to be a different conversation, even with the same dialogue.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
it could be, I didn't expect you so soon. And you say, well, I told you I was coming. But if I'm talking to my son, that's one thing. If I'm talking to the repossession guy,
Yeah. It's a whole
repo
different story.
Yeah, a whole different story. So, but then, and you don't have to figure that out. You just go like, oh, this son of a bitch, and then I'm going to talk to him that way, or like, oh, my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in this case, emotionless.
Emotionless and note to any actors listening, don't try that at home. They don't work. So I learned a valuable lesson, and I got to work with Clancy. Clancy Brown and I have
Oh
worked
yeah.
together a couple times.
Yeah,
Great
he's such
cat.
a great actor.
Oh, so talented. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
I
him and
met.
everything he does. And he can fit into about any movie or TV show. He's very
Yeah, how
versatile.
about that last what's the one with the Keanu Reeves uh kill everybody movies? The
Oh, yeah, the John Wick.
Yeah, he was in the last John Wick. Did a great job.
Great job.
He's also Mr. Crab or something on Krabby on
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. He's Mr.
SpongeBob.
Krabs. Yeah. Yeah. He's
You know,
versatile.
I'm not going to come up with one bit of trivia that you're not going to know
No, no, I'll
already,
know it.
am I?
I used to say, I got all this useless knowledge. I'm never going to be able to use it. And then I started
And
podcasting.
here you are. Everything
Good
up to this
thing.
point was preparation for this.
That's right. I think it was, is a little sad, but I'm okay with it. I'm enjoying myself.
That's what counts, man.
Yeah, they're pretty good. So you were on Buffy a couple of times.
One of
Two
only two
different characters.
actors who had multiple roles on Buffy.
Who was
The
the other?
other, uh, I can't
They're going to
remember
be
his
very
name.
insulted now.
You
See, I
know,
don't know everything. I didn't know.
if you got me a year ago, I could remember people's names. Um, but yeah, that it was they were really tight on that show about Josh Whedon did not want people who'd already lived in the universe to come back as someone
Yeah,
else, and but a friend of mine, Marty Noxon, wrote the second role for the first one. I was the uh psychotic vampire who she had to defeat on her 18th birthday when she had no powers.
right.
So she had to trick me into drinking holy water when I was taking my psychotic meds. It was just, come on, man.
He's a crazy vampire.
Who cares? Who cares enough to, take his meds? Um, and then the second one, I was a dealer in magic,
Yeah,
Rack, the magic dealer, and Marty
rack. Yep.
Noxon wrote that one for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you
So
snuck in.
I snuck in. I just it was yeah. They let me do it though. Josh stood on the sidelines for most of the episode like this. But that one's got legs, man.
Yeah.
Buffy fans.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
They're obsessed. Well, I saw Sarah finally came out and said that yeah, maybe she'd be interested in redoing Buffy. I'm like,
Oh
it took you
wow.
that long?
Well, imagine growing up in front of the world when people are that
Yeah.
connected to uh, a character and take it for real, you know.
Well, yeah, sci-fi shows and sci-fi fans especially, they get involved. We'll say it that way.
They get involved. That's right. Yep.
I rewatched New Girl early this year. Love Remy. I always those episodes cracked me up when I watched them originally. Still funny the second time.
Thank you. My favorite moment in the whole thing was she says something to me. Well, why'd you do that, Remy? And I go, how'd you know my name? She said, well, you have a tattoo on your forearm. Oh yeah.
Well, that was a character.
Oh my God. And the way that was so much fun because I was gonna have three-way sex with with Zoe and her friend and um what's his name?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
drew a blank too. That's why I didn't say. But
God damn
yes,
it.
the main guy she was messing with
I've
was
got Jake. Thank
Jake,
you,
of
Jake.
course. Yeah,
Yeah, so they were just like they were playing chicken, who's gonna drop out first? And every time there was where they opened the door and see me, and each time they opened the door, I was doing something different. And we shot the thing like 20 times, and One time I was reading a book. One time I was spreading peanut butter on my belly. One was time I was doing yoga poses.
Well,
And
did they let you make up what you were doing, or
oh
did
my
they?
God! And they were all the way over by Video Village yelling, "Try it this way!" It's just it was a hoot shooting that, man. It was so much fun.
Well, it seemed like it. Like it comes across really funny. So you kind of assume that the people shooting it probably had a blast.
Oh, man, they all loved each other so much, and they let me come in and play for a little bit. And then Jake wrote a role for me in a film that we did around this time last year, or no, it was before. It was a little earlier in the fall. And that's on Hulu called. See, I should have like looked up my credits before I came on here. Um, but I got to play a cowboy assassin. It was a comedy that he wrote and
Nice.
directed and starred in.
I mean, when are
Um,
you going to ever get to play a cowboy assassin?
oh, I've done it more than once. I'm sorry to say. I
That's
have
hilarious.
been your cowboy assassin more than once. Um,
See, that
so
seems like that's a shirt you should own, cowboy assassin.
Self-reliance.
Oh,
That's the name of the
self-reliance.
movie. Yes. So I recommend it. Go out, rent it, um,
I'm gonna write it down.
and send me some money.
Send me
You
some
don't
money.
have to send me some money. Someone else will send me some
Somebody will
money.
send you some money.
Yeah. It's very funny. It's a really funny movie. So
Yeah, I'll check it out because we're always looking for comedies. It's we're kind of losing the network comedies. There's not that many of them anymore.
there sure aren't, huh?
No, I miss
Yeah.
those,
And
especially
the
with
ones
like all the big ones kind of ending over the last few years. Nothing's replacing them.
well, my wife just watched the new Ted Danson comedy.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I had Susan Rutan on that
Oh,
that was in that. Yeah, Man on the Inside.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
She enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I,
Ted
I would
Danson,
get,
he can do about anything too.
oh man, I got to work with him once too. Oh man, on CSI,
Oh,
Los
I forgot he
Angeles.
was on CSI. I knew
Yeah.
you were, but I'd forgotten that
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah, and they were interviewing me in in the interview room, and I was so crazy that after I went through my big monologue, he just went, "Wow, the best review I ever got."
I mean, you can't beat WoW.
You and not from Ted Danson? No,
No,
no higher praise.
that's right. That's right. I used to watch China Beach with my mother, if you can believe it. She loved that show.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I remember you well on that one.
that was it was very special. That
That was
was
wasn't that Dana Delaney?
Dana Delaney and Marg Helgenberger of
Oh yeah,
CSI.
yeah,
Yeah, and oh yeah, Michael Boatman was on that, who
yep,
ended up doing all kinds. I mean, he works nonstop.
yeah. He's busy,
He's busy all the time. Yeah.
but yeah,
And
she
Chloe
loved that
Webb was.
show.
You remember Chloe? Chloe Webb. She was in Sid and Nancy, one of the most brilliant natural actors of our generation, and she was in the first. The first season of China
Yeah,
Beach, which was only 7 episodes long, and she played USO girl.
now 7 episodes. That's the norm.
Don't I know it?
I
Yeah.
missed the 22 episode, 26 episode
Yeah, so
season.
does my accountant. I mean, so do I. It's like acting is the one thing you don't get to go practice it in your living room and enjoy yourself.
Right.
You gotta have a whole you have to have at least one other person.
That's
And
right.
ideally, you got, a whole apparatus that's gonna, you know, take it down and record it. And so
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's a little bit to it.
a little bit.
Oh, I wanted to ask you. So that was my mom's favorite show. My dad's favorite, or one of his favorite movies, was the man that shot Liberty Valance, and I saw you did some stage work with that.
It was,
I was wondering who you played.
Liberty Valance.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. And uh, Gregory Harrison was the man who shot me.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
probably a pretty good play.
Oh my God, it was good. And it was written by, it was originally a short story written by a woman from Montana in about 1910.
Really?
And she identified as initials um rather than her name so that she could so that she could,
They wouldn't know she's
like,
a woman, basically.
they wouldn't know she was a woman.
Yeah.
Thank you. And um uh Dorothy M. Johnson was her name.
Oh,
And uh the movie strays quite a bit from the short story, but this kid, like 25, 26-year-old young man in England, wrote a play based on
based on
the
that.
short story that ran for like a year on the West End in London, and then we got to do the American premiere of it uh, up at this theater, the Rubicon Theater up in Ventura, and it's a, it's a, I don't know, 300 seat house, 400 seat house, something like that.
That's awesome.
God, it was so much fun.
Yeah, I
It
had
was
no
so
idea it
much
was a
fun.
play. I saw that and I was like, oh, I got to ask him about that.
Yeah, God, really good. And well written, really, really well written. And
I went to New York a couple months ago. I had one of our actor friends was in a play, and it was just a 2-woman play. And but I was very impressed with the fact that the audience is about a 300 seat theater too, but the audience is literally 5 feet away, and she's looking out to the audience the entire time basically, and never once broke character or acknowledged the audience. I just that impresses me with actors because there's no way I could be up there and not get distracted. There's no way.
it's one of the wonderful challenges of being an actor.
Yeah.
Um, although I did a play years ago with Brooke Adams, and she talked about doing Shakespeare with Chris Walken. And apparently he kept looking at the audience, and the director said, Chris, you can't look at the audience. He said, that's a terrible impersonation, pardon me, but I know they're there. They know I know they're there. If I wouldn't look, it would be rude. Oh, here's another one. I did a play uh, years ago where um, the end of the play is my grandson. I'm dead, and my son and my grandson are in a beach house, and they're looking out to. There's an ocean happening out here. They're going to have a picnic, and just remember Grandpa fondly. And my kid was about 10 years old at the time, and he wanted to be an actor. And so he was one of two kids who rotated in this role. And it was the only scene they had. They came out and ate a sandwich and farted around for 10 minutes, and they were gone. And so I watched him his first night, and he's there, and he's like looking out at the audience. And it was just he's looking at the audience, and I thought, oh my God, what the hell? He's not supposed. And he got off stage. And I went, okay, Henry, you can't look at the audience. You're in a beach house. The audience isn't there. You're having a picnic with your father and your mother. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, got it. Next night I go and watch, and there's Henry looking out at the audience. And after the play, I said, Henry, what? We talked about this. You're not supposed to look at the audience. He said, I wasn't. Well, it looked like it from where I was standing. He said, no. I was watching the waves come in.
That's pretty smart.
Oh my God. You can't argue with that.
No, he had you.
He had me.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Sons of Anarchy, loved you on there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, nice role on there. It was
That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wore a suit. They wouldn't let me ride a motorcycle. Uh, These are the things I remember.
Oh, I may be wrong about this one. Did you do an episode of Reaper?
I did.
Yeah, okay. That one just popped in my head because I love
Oh
that
my
show.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
What an interesting show that was.
I
Now
know.
here's a so for those of you who don't remember Reaper, for some reason this kid's parents had sold his soul to Satan,
Right.
and and so Satan just gave him different kinds of assignments, and
Yeah, he was like working for Satan, trying to
yeah,
get his soul back,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, working for the company
Well, it was
store.
like Ray Wise was the
Ray Wise was Satan, yeah. Well, and the demons were all through our world, and I was one of them, and they just had these little horns right up at the hairline.
yeah.
And my I was running a self-storage place, and my girlfriend was worked at the Department of Motor Vehicles. So these are all demonic kinds of jobs. And here's a meditation story.
Okay.
So there's this, if you find a meditation that really takes you to the deepest place, there's actually a thing that happens where this certain oil uh, is expressed through your skin that is
Really?
made up at least partially of bliss chemistry. This is scientifically sound. It's called ojas, OJAS, and you look at some holy men and women from India, they just got this like oily, they have really shiny foreheads.
You're
This is what
right.
it's
Yeah,
from.
they do. Yeah.
So it's from this ojas. So, I had done a lot of prosthetics I was in Tank Girl, I was in Alien Nation, had lots and lots of in
Alienation's
Highway to
one I
Heaven, I have
miss.
prosthetics.
I'm
What's that?
surprised they haven't remade Alien Nation.
Oh, I think they did. They made a series of it
Well, they
not
did.
that
There
long
was a
ago.
TV show, but they haven't done anything since.
Yeah. Well,
Been a while for that.
some things are better left in the closet. But anyway, it's late at night. We're in Vancouver. I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the makeup person, waiting for me to shoot something else. It's cold, it's dark, and we're talking about meditation. And she's all of a sudden goes, "Oh my God!" And I went, "What?" She's, your horn's falling off. And so we had to run back to the trailer. She had to glue it back on. Now they glue these things on so that it takes at least half as long to take it off as it takes to put it on because the glue is so solid and
Right.
it doesn't come off after 5 hours. This was like 3 hours or something, and it came off and she glued it on. We shot for an hour and it fell off again. And I think this is because of that ojas, that oil coming out on my forehead. Now,
It probably
if you
is.
if you air this, people will probably think I'm crazy.
Well, that's okay.
Just cut that part out.
That's actually really interesting because you see that with with meditators that do that.
Yeah.
They do look oily. I've never thought
Yeah,
much
it's and
about
it's
it.
it's there, and actually when they've had meditators in the lab, they actually have uh, uh, a lessening of stress chemistry in their body and a raising of biochemistry of bliss, serotonin and a lessening of adrenaline and cortisol and all those things.
That's amazing. The
So
human
keep
body
meditating,
is
man.
so uh, interesting, I think, because there's obviously so much that we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
who knows what our actual potential is because we don't use much of our brain or anything.
So and less all the time,
Yep.
because we're always doing this.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. What did? Yeah.
I know, and I'm just as bad as anybody else with it.
Oh, listen. I just heard a study yesterday that like looking at the phone, you're getting a constant dopamine download,
Yeah,
and dopamine is very short-lived, and it happens, then it goes away. It happens, then it goes away, and the anticipation of something good happening, you get twice as much dopamine as the actual getting of that thing,
yeah,
as the happening of that thing. And the more dopamine you take in, the less serotonin your body produces. And serotonin is the biochemistry of actual happiness, not just momentary pleasure.
Yeah, right.
So,
That's interesting.
isn't it?
Well, I've looked into a lot of that over the last few years. I've went from more of listening to music or sports or something like that when I'm working out or in the car or whatever. To I'm more and more going toward comedies or comedians and that stuff. And it made me wonder. I'm like, was something going on in there? Like, okay, he got some dopamine issues. We'll just have him chuckling all the time. And I just wonder because
That's
sometimes,
serotonin. That's serotonin. That's not dopamine.
oh, okay.
That's
Because
good.
maybe
They
that
also
was
did.
the reason I was kind of drawn to that a little, or am drawn to that a little bit.
There was a study several years ago where they had people watching old cartoons,
Mhm.
and everyone in the study had to hold a pencil in their mouth, and half the people were holding the pencil with their lips, and half of them were holding it with their teeth. And then they did a survey on how funny they rated each of the cartoons. And to a person, the people holding the pencil in their teeth thought everything was a lot funnier than the people holding the
Because I
pencil in
couldn't
their pouty
smile.
lips. Because one is pouting sadly and one is making a smiling gesture, and it actually changes your biochemistry. We're such simple
We
machines.
really are.
Yeah, we really are.
Well, Jeff, thank you for taking a little bit of time. I've been looking forward to this one. I meant it. You're one of my favorite actors because every time you show up in something, it always elevates the show.
Oh
Oh,
man, I so appreciate that. Thank you so
yeah,
much. And
yeah.
what a pleasure. I'm sorry if we didn't talk enough about acting.
Shoot. I just wanted to talk to you. I don't care what we talk about. That's up to
Good.
you.
Well, I really do want to hear about when you get into breath, if it changes your experience of yourself at all, because I'm it's this is all a big experiment from where I stand.
we got to
So
we got to do a part two after I've read the book.
deal.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I'll start it and then we'll get
Okay.
it scheduled.
You better get going because you got to catch up with me, man, because I'm already like a third of the way through.
It's
And
time. It's the time to do it. It's the holidays. I'll have
yes,
time.
it is. You got time on your hands. And you know what? Those little kids, they're not even going to notice if you're paying attention to them or not. Those grandkids.
They don't. As long as I'm there, as long as when they get hungry, which is a lot, admittedly,
A lot.
and that
Yeah.
they can ask, they're pretty much, Fridays that's my pop all day. So I've got all five of them on Fridays.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, all day. And it's great, but it's exhausting, So I spend the
Oh my
weekend
God.
catching up from Friday. But yeah, it's pretty
What
great.
a,
But they're pretty, at this time, they play pretty much on their own. It's just when the younger ones need a diaper change and when they're hungry. That's when they need
what
me.
a great pawpaw you must be, man.
You know,
Just,
I started that because I grew up with a lot of cousins and I just wanted them to have that experience. I was like, I got to get them together.
oh,
People
oh,
don't get together in big groups anymore. So like,
yeah, yeah.
and it's worked. They're close. So who knows if that helps them later, but I think it will.
I love it, man.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So a couple things, Jeff, before I let you go. Anything that you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Uh, y y yes, question mark. Um, um, well, I've been doing General Hospital for the last few years, and
You've been doing that for a
uh,
while now.
yeah, the landscape there is changing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
I
And
know
this
that
movie
you used to
Closure,
be such a big part of a lot of people's day, and it's still very popular, but not like it was like
not like it
in the
once
80s.
was. They used
Yeah,
to have 25 million people an episode. Now they got like five. So
right.
there's still a lot of people,
That's still a lot of people.
uh there's this movie Closure that hasn't come out yet. And that I did John Kelly is in it, uh and there's another one called Grassland that is some of the I'm probably more proud of that work than almost anything else. It was a
Ooh.
it's I got to play a New Jersey cop, and it was though I was the antagonist in the storyline, I wasn't a bad guy, and
Right.
it was just a beautiful movie that it hasn't got distribution yet, but I'm hoping it does.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. I'll
know,
keep an eye out for that one. That'd be
yeah.
really good. Are you on social media? Where can we find you?
Instagram, Jeff Kober Meditation, all one
Yep.
word.
Yep. That's where I
And
found you.
on Day Shift with Jeff Kober on YouTube. Um,
Well, on the
and
website, you've got the website as well.
and the website, jeffkober.com. That's the first time I've said my name that many times.
That's
And
a lot.
I don't know if I've ever said my name that many times in a row.
Well,
Hard to have variety
do
when.
you take clients for the meditation? Can people contact you if they
Oh yeah, absolutely.
want some coaching?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
teach. Yeah,
I thought you
I teach.
did. Because I looked, I was like, oh, meditation. Let's look at that.
I'm a good teacher too, man. If you come to me for meditation, you'll have it. It'll stick.
Well, when
So
we come back for our second one, we'll practice the breathing stuff on camera. We'll
I
practice.
like it, and we'll show people.
Yeah, we'll show people how to. Yeah, well, you can show them how to do it. I'll show them what probably not to do.
Please, you're probably gonna have hair down to your shoulders, and and you're gonna be like,
I started breathing through my
twice
nose
as
and my hair grew
broad.
back.
Yeah, like this breathing stuff is really working. My hair will be colored. It'll be dark.
I tell you
It's
what, it almost makes me want to kind of put on a wig before we get back on here. I'll be like, Jeff, look.
Look at that. All right, man. What a pleasure.
Oh, it's been terrific. Hold on one second. Listen, I am the biggest Jeff Kober fan, and I have been forever. Sorry, I needed a drink there. He's terrific. I absolutely love it when he shows up. His characters are always quirky. They're sometimes can be a little intimidating, a little scary. He's such a good actor. I absolutely love him. We hit on a few things. Oh, I can't believe I did that. So I know it'll be late at this point. I'll send him a note, but tomorrow's December the 18th is Jeff's birthday. We record this on the 17th. It'll probably be past that once we release it. But I meant to wish him happy birthday. So, Jeff, if you're listening, happy birthday. I hope it was a good one. I hope you had the best time. But I wanted to run through some of the shows and the movies that I enjoyed him in, but we didn't get a chance to talk about. And there's a lot, so just bear with me for a minute. So, The Hills Have Eyes 2. We talked about China Beach and General Hospital, but he's had appearances on Chicago Med, High Desert, which is a newer Apple show, I think, really good. Walker, which is the new Walker, the Texas Ranger, but he's also been on the old one too. Van Helsing loved him in. This is kind of funny. I wrote Van Helsing and Sneaky Pete next to each other, and sometimes I put the show they were in plus the name of the character they played. So in my head, I was thinking he played Sneaky Pete on Van Helsing, but those are actually two different shows. He was Mr. Kennedy on Big Sky. We've had Deidre Pfeiffer on. So if you're a fan of hers, make sure you check that one out. NCIS, he did pretty much all of those. He's been on Bosch. He was John the Baptist. We talked about the Kindred and Earth 2. He was Davy Crockett on Timeless. Love that. He was Joe on The Walking Dead. We've got a Walking Dead playlist. We've had maybe, I don't know, a couple of dozen actors from that, including a panel interview. So make sure you check out that playlist if you're a Walking Dead fan. Sons of Anarchy, he played Jacob. It's terrific. New Girl we talked about. Always Sunny in Philadelphia had a great role in that one. Really enjoyed that. Most of the CSIs, I think we mentioned NCIS. He's done most of those too. He did Law and Order LA. He was a mechanic on Lost, Burn Notice, Cold Case, Supernatural, The Closer, NYPD Blue. That's how long he's been doing this. The Shield. He did episode of Star Trek Enterprise and Voyager, Jag, Charmed, The X-Files, and I think I mentioned Falcon Crest. Very prolific. And I'm only just touching them. There's a ton more. Yeah, Jeff is just super, super talented and the best. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're finding us for the first time, thank you for being here. Absolutely thrilled to death. Would love to have your support. It's easy to do. It's free. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. Really helps us out. Our website's meistercon.com. You can find almost 900 episodes, audio and video versions. It'll let you know if we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, covering a convention, doing a meditation with Jeff, whatever we got going on, it'll be on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there as well. Thank you guys so much. Happy birthday, Jeff. Bye, everybody.